You're listening to the CyberWire Network, powered by N2K.
Ever wished you could rebuild your network from scratch to make it more secure, scalable, and simple? Meet MITRE, the company reimagining enterprise networking from the ground up. MITRE builds full-stack, zero-trust networks, including hardware, firmware, and software, all designed to work seamlessly together. The result? Fast, reliable, and secure connectivity without the constant patching, vendor juggling, or hidden costs. From wired and wireless to routing, switching, firewalls, DNS security, and VPN, every layer is integrated and continuously protected in one unified platform. And since it's delivered as one predictable monthly service, you skip the heavy capital costs and endless upgrade cycles. MITRE even buys back your old infrastructure to make switching effortless. Transform complexity into simplicity and give your team time to focus on what really matters, helping your business and customers thrive. Learn more and book your demo at mitre.com/cyberwire. That's METER.com/cyberwire. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CyberWire's Research Saturday. I'm Dave Bittner, and this is our weekly conversation with researchers and analysts tracking down the threats and vulnerabilities, solving some of the hard problems, and protecting ourselves in a rapidly evolving cyberspace. Thanks for joining us.
So I got an alert that popped up that basically said that my phone was infected and I needed to install this antivirus program because I had malware on my phone or whatever. And it also indicated that I had gotten this malware from going to adult sites. So this all came as a surprise to me.
Sure it did.
Yes.
So. That's Marcel Lee, a cybersecurity consultant and researcher. The research we're discussing today is titled CTI Tradecraft, Investigating a Mobile Scareware Campaign. I think for many people, this would be frightening. For some people, this would be annoying or a nuisance. For you, perhaps this was an opportunity?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was kind of excited. I love it when this kind of stuff pops up in, wherever, because to me, it's a research opportunity. And so I literally was screenshotting things. I think I was lying in bed at the time. so I'm just screenshotting away and making notes. And it took me like a month or so to get around to actually diving into it. But I always document because I know I'll, later I'll be like, oh, I wish I'd kept a picture of that. So yeah. But yes, definitely an opportunity for research is always very exciting. And I will say, as a side note too, Dave, I have antivirus on my phone already, or, security software on my phone from a legitimate company. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that I couldn't have malware on my phone, but would be fairly unlikely since I do literally have that on my phone. And and not a lot of people do. And I always encourage folks to have a legitimate security software on their phone.
Yeah. My elderly father, when he was still around, would get these things on his computer from time to time, and they would pop up and they'd say, there's a problem with your Microsoft operating system. And he was on a Mac.
Yeah.
So, he'd call me concerned, and I'd say, well, I think it's okay, Dad, but I will come over and help. So let's walk through sort of step by step. I mean, you have this thing that you want to dig into now. Where do you begin?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically I began with the domains that I captured, and, in the blog, I share details on domains and everything else. And the screenshot that I shared just shows the one domain, but there was two because this pop-up thing happened twice in a row from the same website, same initial website about the basil. And so domains are just barely enough to start with, right? But I used Censys, which is CENSYS. It's a great tool for looking up, all kinds of different indicators. I have a free account with them. I'm sure they have like a enterprise solution as well, but I was just using the free account, and so they were able to give me information about who was the registrar and when were these domains registered, the associated IP address, and so on and so forth. So you're really just starting to unravel at that point. And then after I looked at Censys, I also took a look at a couple of other tools, VirusTotal and DomainStack, both of which I have free accounts on. And I do like to mention the fact that I'm using free accounts because it just means, you don't necessarily have to have all the enterprise grade bells and whistles to do the kind of research that I do. I've certainly worked at companies where I did have, all the bells and whistles, which was very nice. But lots of us out there, who are doing research don't necessarily have the sort of expensive toys. So that was kind of one of the points of my whole article, is that there is a lot that you could do with free tools. It's just a nice thing about cybersecurity, I think. So anyway, I looked at VirusTotal and DomainStack as well, and they basically gave the same information, but I like to verify, right? It's rare that I would look at just one source for information. So now I had an IP address to look at as well. So you just start building up, right, with the different indicators.
Now, one of the things you mentioned in the research is that there was some device fingerprinting in the URLs. Can you explain to us exactly what that means?
Yeah, for sure. So the domain, of course, you see there, actually the full URL or URI piece of it was very long and encoded and whatnot. But I've done work in the past on like ad fraud campaigns, so I recognize this as like an ad kind of tracking thing, and threat actors use this kind of programming to deliver basically curated content, right? So they're looking for a user on a specific type of device, or they're not really necessarily looking for these types of users, but they want to gear the what they're delivering to the user accordingly. So like you were talking about your dad getting a thing about Windows issues on the Mac, like they didn't do a very good job of fingerprinting, right? To give him that sort of thing. But I mean, threat actors they're not stupid. They know how to do this stuff. So it kind of, flies under the radar a little bit better. So basically what this very long string broke down to, it identified the device, although it didn't really do a very good job with my phone. It just listed it as generic because it didn't know what it was. and then, all the other sort of features of this, campaign. And, like I said, normally it would be an advertising campaign. In this case, it was some sort of not advertising. Well, I guess it was actually advertising for these apps that they wanted you to install, but I'll say not a legitimate campaign. Yeah. So, but it, still has all the same components. So campaign IDs, the country, the operating system, just all the data that it captures about the device. Yeah.
That's all within the URL.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned apps. There was a point in this investigation when you kind of pivoted from websites to mobile apps. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, sure. So, if you recall, the thing that first popped up was you have malware on your phone, you need to install these apps to correct the situation. So I dug into what those apps were, and I haven't looked lately. I don't know if they're still there or not. They probably are. But yeah, so there was one called Antivirus Protector, and the other one was called Antivirus Cybergate. And when I look at apps to try to get a feel for like whether they're legit or not legit, one of the things I always look for is the contact information for the developer, and also look to see what other apps the developer has provided. So it's actually not even that easy to find. It's kind of tucked away, but you can find it. And and they did not include that information in the blog, but it would be easy to go look it up. And that was just basically because Feedly didn't want to include contact information. But I think in both instances, the email was just like a generic email, like Gmail or something like that. Um, so this is like always a red flag to me, because if a developer doesn't even have like a company, like proper domain name, like, I have Marcel at marcelli.com or whatever.
Right, sure.
Then I'm like, that's a little like sketchy, I think. So that would, definitely raise some, red flags for me. And, it doesn't guarantee that it's, something that's not cool, but it's just a indicator possibly. So yeah. And, I think, the other thing that was kind of interesting is both of the apps had pretty high ratings. One of them had 1 million downloads, and the other one had like 10,000 downloads. And this could be a little bit deceiving because there's so many ways that those numbers can be artificially manipulated. There's, you can pay services to create this kind of sort of fake traffic for you. There's bot farms and click farms that, I'm sure you've seen these days, like in a picture or whatever, where it's just like literally a wall full of phones and they're all just clicking away or whatever. So that's a way that you can, generate these things. So you can't rely on the ratings and the number of downloads necessarily.
We'll be right back. These days, attackers rarely start with a bang. They start quietly. A leaked credential, a stolen session cookie, a lookalike domain that shouldn't exist. That's where NordStellar comes in. NordStellar is a threat exposure management platform that helps organizations see what attackers already know about them before it turns into an incident. It brings together data breach monitoring, dark web monitoring, attack surface management, and cyber squatting detection in a single platform. That means visibility into leaked credentials and malware logs, insight into brand impersonation attempts, and a clear picture of exposed internet-facing assets and shadow IT. For CISOs, it's a way to reduce response costs, prioritize real risk, and communicate clearly with the board. For security teams, it's real-time alerts, contextual intelligence, and faster investigations without the noise. Most companies only react after the damage is done. Don't wait until your data is already for sale. Protect your business today with NordStellar. Learn more at nordstellar.com/cyberwiredaily. Don't forget to mention CyberWire10 for an exclusive offer. Maybe that's an urgent message from your CEO, or maybe it's a deepfake trying to target your business. Doppel is the AI-native social engineering defense platform fighting back against impersonation and manipulation. As attackers use AI to make their tactics more sophisticated, Doppel uses it to fight back. From automatically dismantling cross-channel attacks to building team resilience and more. Doppel, outpacing what's next in social engineering. Learn more at doppel.com. That's DOPPEL.com. So you are looking at these apps, and did you get to the point of actually downloading them?
No, I did not. So I used to have a nice setup for doing mobile app analysis, but it's been so long since I did that I didn't have it set up anymore. But I do have a friend who does do mobile app analysis, so I pass this information along to them to see if they wanted to take a look. So I'm not sure if that happened or not.
Right. Stay tuned. Perhaps more to
Yeah,
come.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it brings up an interesting point, though, that a lot of folks, I believe, assume that if something is in one of the big app stores, either the Google Play or Apple's App Store, that they're safe. And that's not necessarily so.
No, it's not, especially in Google Play. And, I'm obviously an Android user, so I'm not just saying Google Play, but they really don't vet from sort of a security standpoint. Basically, the process to get an app approved is, you have to have a privacy policy. You have to provide your developer contact information. But as I said, like it doesn't really matter. It could just be, rando@gmail.com. And then they, when they do the review process, they're really just checking to make sure that you've, provided those things. That as far as I know, I don't think anybody at Google is over there, like, running the apps and seeing what they do, just to make sure that they're copacetic.
Right. What's your suspicion? Do you suspect that once you install something like this on your device, that all bets are off? They're going after everything?
Yeah, so there's a couple of possibilities. Like one, it could be actually, a malicious app that would be targeting, you as the user or the device, maybe stealing data, stealing banking information, that kind of thing. Or it could be something more along the lines of ad fraud. So there's certainly apps out there that are really just generating advertising clicks to make money. We did a lot of that kind of research when I used to work at Human Security, and it's fascinating. Like the whole ad fraud ecosystem is very very deep, I guess I would say. So threat actors, as they do, know this and take advantage of it. So you can actually make a fair bit of money with just fake clicks and so on and so forth.
There's a turn of phrase that you used in your blog post that really caught my eye. You talk about how indicators expire, but behaviors last.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure you've seen like the pyramid of pain, right? Where it's like, some things are very sort of ephemeral, like, a domain name and or an IP or whatever. That's not that hard to charge or to change. But the way the threat actor actually conducts their business, if you will, is less likely to change. And that's where MITRE ATT&CK comes into play. Like I love MITRE ATT&CK framework for basically categorizing threat actor behavior and activity. So, like how did they get in the first place? Like what was the means of initial access? How do they do lateral movement? How do they do, exfiltration? Like these are, and it's just like anybody, right? You have like your way that you do things, and chances of you changing your way that you do things are pretty small. But they can change infrastructure pretty handily. That's easy. But changing just sort of their own like fingerprint of activity is a little bit more difficult.
Hmm. How do defenders use this kind of mapping of tactics, techniques, and procedures proactively, and not just reactively to what's coming at them?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways. And when I've worked with, in InfoSec with different InfoSec teams, you can do a lot of different things, right? You can work with your red team, your penetration testing team, to tell them like this is the kind of activity that we're seeing in the wild. This is probably something you should test our organization for. So like a certain type of user execution, whatever technique that helps inform them for their testing. Also, you can help support incident response, certainly. And obviously, incident response is reactive by its very nature, right? But having some idea about the kinds of things that the threat actor might be doing might help them with their investigation in terms of where do we look for what might have happened. And also just like security awareness too. Like I think I have such a passion for like better awareness for people, and not just, the checkbox compliance awareness that everybody has to do, but just giving users like real world examples of what threat actors are actually doing. So like this blog, for example, could be used as a case study for an awareness program to let users know about, what happens if I get some kind of pop up like this, and what should I do? So, I think it just really enriches the user awareness experience to have like a real story. And I mean, I could go on and on with like all the different sorts of teams that you would find in InfoSec. I've also found GRC, governance, risk and compliance, having them understand the kinds of behaviors also helps them quantify risk. And then, oh gosh, last but not least, you can, I'll keep thinking of other ways, but you can, bake this information into like your security tools too. So your EDR, you could be like, okay, we want to have some rules set up for this particular type of behavior. And MITRE makes it easy, right? Because most of these tools are designed to track things by like the ID number or whatever. So yeah, there's lots of different things that you can do. That's why like threat intel is just so important, because it really can help such a variety of different stakeholders.
Do you suppose that the original website that you were going to look at, trying to harvest your basil, is it likely that they had no idea that this sort of malicious ad content had been grafted onto to theirs?
Yeah, 100%. And we see that all the time, right? Compromised websites. Most of the time, these folks aren't going to have any idea, right? Because somebody's probably just hacked into like their WordPress account or whatever, and then just added, a directory or a file or something. And unless you're doing like an active review of your website all the time, you're just not going to know it, especially if you're not, a technical person at all.
I want to swing back around to what you were saying about using free tools that are available. I think we've got a lot of people in our audience who are starting out or just coming up, and this is good information for them. I think a lot of people think if I don't have the latest, greatest things, then I won't be able to do the kind of work I want to do. But you're saying, based on your experience, there's a lot of stuff out there that you can do to get where you want to be.
Yeah, 100%. And, I always call this like having your toolbox, and, sort of a metaphorical toolbox, of course, but just knowing what websites to go to and knowing what tools to use. This is something that you gradually learn as you get into the field, right? But it's really useful to keep track of handy sites that you find. So like on my GitHub, I have a list of, which probably sadly needs massive updating, but a list of like my go-to websites. I'm making a mental note to self that I should probably look at that and update it. But yeah, so yeah, there's just a lot out there, and it's not one size fit all. Like some people might prefer one, domain lookup over another one, but you learn that as you try them. But if you don't even know, then how do you try them? I found a lot of stuff just by accident, by Googling, of course. But then you also get it from other folks too. Like, somebody will be like, "Oh, this tool is really cool. You should try it."
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like it's the perfect thing if you go to an event or a local meetup or anything like that. And, we all go to those things and we think to ourselves, oh, what am I going to have to talk about? Right. But
yeah,
this is a great thing you can talk about. Like, what do you use? What's good for, is there anything that you use that you think I should use, and that sort of thing. And away you go.
Yeah, no, for sure. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it's very true. And then, I will throw in sort of the obligatory AI comment, but I have started incorporating AI into my research a bit more. So, for example, one of the things I used AI for this research was when I was looking at the URI and trying to parse out all the bits of it. I basically had AI help me dissect it and also do like the comparison of like the one URI to the other one that I had. So I feel like AI to me is like an assistant. So like something that I could probably do, but my time is better spent maybe actually doing the research and writing the blog, and they can do the like kind of more tedious, like unpack this encoded blob of stuff.
Yeah. What are the take-homes for you in terms of lessons learned from going through this process?
I think one of the things for me is I only recently started using Censys, for example, and I really have decided that I love that platform. It's like now one of my go-tos, and it wasn't before. I've also learned not so much from this particular blog, but I was at B-Sides Bournemouth and I did a workshop with somebody from URLScan, and they were showing how you can actually look up file hashes in URLScan, which I did not know. So if you have like some kind of, maybe an icon or something in a website, you could search to see if that pops up somewhere else, which I did try in this particular case, but it wasn't really like relevant. But still, it was something, that to explore. Yeah. And I also, I think another big takeaway was that I need to get less rusty on the app analysis, but there's only so much time in the day. You can only do so many things. But I do have an extra old Android phone that I'm considering setting up again to do, the app research. So.
Right. throw it to the wolves.
Exactly.
Our thanks to Marcel Lee, a cybersecurity consultant and researcher. The research we discussed today is titled CTI Tradecraft, Investigating a Mobile Scareware Campaign. We'll have a link in the show notes. And that's Research Saturday, brought to you by N2K CyberWire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like our show, please share a rating and review in your favorite podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to cyberwire@n2k.com. This episode was produced by Liz Stokes. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. Peter Kilpie is our publisher, and I'm Dave Bittner. Thanks for listening. We'll see you back here next time. If you only attend one cybersecurity conference this year, make it RSAC 2026. It's happening March 23rd through the 26th in San Francisco, bringing together the global security community for 4 days of expert insights, hands-on learning, and real innovation. I'll say this plainly, I never miss this conference. The ideas and conversations stay with me all year. Join thousands of practitioners and leaders tackling today's toughest challenges and shaping what comes next. Register today at rsaconference.com/cyberwire26. I'll see you in San Francisco.